good school look like to you? This is a low-income school versus a high-income school. Good morning. Today we'll be discussing boundary lines and student success. My name is Pat Morwall.
Denise Stumblin.
Kelsey Cowden. Kirsten Morris. Jillian Clark.
We have come to realize that student success rate has decreased in schools with a lower income when compared to schools with a higher income.
In a low-income school, you may see unpaved parking lots, old buses, ineffective teachers, and rundown buildings.
In a high-income school, you see finished parking lots, updated buses, beneficial teachers, better academics, more resources, and newly constructed buildings.
There are less opportunities academically, along with financial opportunities such as field trips and scholarships in low-impoverished neighborhoods.
No student should be left behind because of school district boundary lines that determine the future.
Our first claim within our argument is school boundary lines are just not randomly drawn for population, but instead are often reflective of economic status of the area.
So the big question is, how do boundary lines affect student success rate?
After Brown versus Board of Education, desegregation was widespread due to new judicial rulings. However, over time, districts have become resegregated. According to an article by Alvin Chang titled, "We Can Build School Zones to Make Classrooms Less Segregated, This is How Well Your District Does." Groups with political clout, mainly wealthier, whiter communities, have pushed policies that help white families live in heavily white areas and attend heavily white schools. This article goes on to state that schools that are as segregated as they were 50 years ago. Due to this resegregation, schools have become increasingly more segregated by socioeconomic and racial status, and boundary lines play right into this.
School boundary lines seem to be based on poverty. Lower class students are usually in lower quality school boundary lines and vice versa. And the three largest barriers to student success in schools, there are a variety of obstacles students face on their path to academic success, including student engagement, basic needs of parental involvement, internal assets, and boundary lines. How could boundary lines affect our children's education in the future? Student success rates have seemingly been lower to lower income schools. According to the article, 2 decades later, a school boundary decision that isolated poor students and vertebrates, they state, indeed, much of the debate that occurred during the boundary decision centered on whether post-busing schools need to be integrated to succeed, or could high-poverty schools be designed that would produce college and career-ready students. I feel like post-busing schools would be integrated to succeed and at least help them towards a path of success.
According to Education by Pacific Standard, 56% of American children today, the majority of them Black and Latino, attend a public school that's classified as high poverty. These specific high poverty schools are located in areas surrounded with people with low incomes. With the help of boundary lines, the rich kids are separated by the poor kids. This issue dates back to 1974 with Milliken v. Bradley. The case alleged that the Detroit School Board and the state of Michigan had engaged in racial discrimination and purposely worsened segregation in schools. When the district court sided with the plaintiffs, a message was sent. Governments at all levels work together to perpetuate racial segregation in schools.
Public schools are funded by tax, and they tend to segregate and put minority kids in schools that are less funded, and wealthy white kids in funded schools. It states in Public Neighborhood Schools by Jim Moon that schools with good reputation actually drive home prices up as parents compete for residents that guarantee placement in desirable schools.
Low-income families residing in high-poverty neighborhoods are disadvantaged. From the article, Achieving Escape Velocity, Neighborhood and School Interventions to Reduce Persistent Inequality by Roland G. Fryer et al., Figure 1 shows a strong positive correlation between mean residential neighborhood, zip code, income, and the academic performance of 8th grade students in New York City for 2009-2010. This correlation can reflect the causal effects of direct neighborhood characteristics, school quality, differences by neighborhood or family backgrounds. The relationship between income and test scores show a positive correlation between higher income and better test scores.
Our second claim within our argument is that student success rates depend on their school climate and school quality.
Students who feel safer in their schools have a higher rate of success. Teachers and administration try to create a safe environment by increasing surveillance, but that leads to a more negative effect. From the article, School Climate for Academic Success, a multi-level analysis of school climate and student outcomes by Darren Kwong et al. Rather, it reduced the positive academic impact of students' learning environment and perceptions of school safety. In this environment, students often felt imprisoned in the school by going through metal detectors daily or being subject to detection dogs, which did not instill motivation to excel academically for the students.
High-poverty neighborhoods tend to have lesser school quality, more rundown, whereas low-poverty neighborhoods will most likely have better school quality, better opportunities. According to Defining Career Readiness and Student Success, School boundary lines often isolated high poverty and lower income students and even parents, making it difficult for students to have more opportunities like field trips and scholarship opportunities. From the article, 2 decades later, school boundary decision that isolated poor students or vertebrates state that other boundary lines proposed at the time would have created a naturally integrated school. Not necessarily a horrid thing, but it shows how low poverty schools will be affected and what can come from the effects of schools.
How you see your school depends on how you feel when you're in it. If you don't have as many resources and benefits as another school, you won't take pride nor care for success. Low-income neighborhoods correlate to low-income and poor-quality schools. According to Why America's Schools Have a Money Problem by Tim Lloyd, Illinois gives more money to rich than it does around out 2 cities in Illinois. It's just not nearly enough to level the playing field. Wealthy areas are given more incentive and exclude low income. Schools in poor areas struggle to retain teachers and provide students with services that they need. It's unfair to the students in the low-income school.
The social and economic status of a student's peers vastly affects their own success. According to the article, High School Socioeconomic Segregation and Student Attainment by Gregory J. Pallardy, the socioeconomic status of one's classmates matters more than the school facilities, curriculum, peer-pupil expenditures, teacher quality, and racial composition, and that segregating low socioeconomic status children in schools creates an inherently inequitable learning context. The resegregation of schools by socioeconomic status follows a strong negative correlation with student success.
There are varieties of schools that can be considered either bad or good for a student's success rate, which is why the article Public Neighborhood School by Jimmy lists pros and cons between public and private schools. One of the pros of public schooling is neighborhood schools are required to serve the family without regards to number of children, economic status, special need, or language barrier. And public schools were created in the sense to serve all the children listed above. And now we're finding out that if you're not qualified, you will be sent to school that's considered a bad quality school.
Our third claim is that school districts would redistribute money equally between all schools in order to create equality in all schools.
The Milliken ruling reversed the works of Brown v. Board of Education. It gave a large amount of authority to local school districts across the country to draw their own boundaries. This entrenched the reliance on local funding so districts would purposefully make their borders to not include low-income neighborhoods and families. Instead of having avoidance, school districts should incorporate all schools blindly and with no bias. According to Density Zoning and Classification in the U.S. Metropolitan Areas by Jonathan Rothwell et al., there is a correlation between social and spatial injustice. America's school funding should work in a way in which all schools are at the same financial and physical standpoint for the sake of the students.
From the article, During and Timing of Exposure to Neighborhood Poverty and the Risk of Adolescent Parenthood by Jeffrey Wadke, studies based off measurements of neighborhood context taken at a single age or even arranged over several years conflate the effect of recent exposure to neighborhood poverty with that of long-term neighborhood disadvantage. In Missouri, the amount of money a school receives is based off attendance. If students are missing school because they missed the bus, or if they're a teen parent and there's no daycare, are they going to stay home and watch their kid in miss school? So this visual is all the school boundaries in Missouri, and the darker the color, the more money the student gets, and the lighter the shade is, the less money the student gets.
As stated in the article, High School Socioeconomic Segregation and Student Attainment, socioeconomic status is the single most defining factor in student culture and student success. Therefore, by equalizing income to schools, this neutralizes the socioeconomic impairment that may be brought by a student. Students in impoverished neighborhoods bring their own special requirements, such as higher rates of teen pregnancy as stated in Understanding Teen Mothers as a Code Analysis by Kostov, Misra et al. Their standards for equal income might not follow equity standards across the district due to this, and schools that cater to impoverished neighborhoods usually need more income than those that do not.
Honestly, if you really think about it, lower poverty schools really do get more opportunities and funding than lower income schools and higher poverty do. Think about what that's like for other schools and would it get worse in the future. Would lower poverty schools get more income than contribute less to other lower income schools and run them down? The community should be able to have more say in the school board to fix little or bad things that need to happen. Within my article, 2 decades later, school boundary decision that isolated poor student vertebrate states, it is crucial for the board monthly public meeting to be open to all interested community members and to ensure that no barriers to participate exist. If community members would stay on their school board, would things change? Would there be a different school success rate for changing schools?
Vouchers are money donated to schools in need, but according to what are school vouchers and how do they work, by Ariana Perthero. Vouchers are not spread out equally between schools. One school may get more money than other. It has been sought that more vouchers go to schools that don't even need it. Schools need to give more guidance to schools who actually need the money than giving free money to rich schools who just need money to add spirit stores or coffee shop.
In conclusion, the way school boundary lines are drawn negatively affects student success. Oh, so ways to fix the school boundary lines are by examining the state funding equation. So in Missouri, the state funding equation is weighted daily attendance times state adequacy target times dollar value modifier, and that equals the state support money.
Another way would be to redraw school boundary lines for the sake of equality and equity.
So in conclusion, the way boundary lines are drawn negatively affects student success.
Boundary lines are drawn segregating low and high income students.
This makes it harder for them to work and learn in their environment.
Redistributing income between schools within a district will provide for a better education.
By increasing school funding for schools that need it, providing more chances for higher education classes, and overall more equitable environment, therefore improves student success rates, especially in impoverished neighborhoods. Thank you.